This is Tex. I hope y'all are having a good day. Today's topic is one that I had referred to in an earlier video, gaslighting, when it occurs and when different things, are happening. And I thought I had made a video, and you know what? Sometimes we think wrong. So I don't think I've made a specific video on gaslighting. So I figured today I'd take a little time to actually discuss specifically how I see gaslighting. And notice how I said that, because there's a lot of definitions out there and they're all kind of close but a little loose. So I'm kind of going to mismash them together. It's manipulation by someone, usually meaning psychological manipulation, which again, I got to explain what you mean. Psychological manipulation means basically tricking you in your mind, your thinking processes, into doubting your own self, doubting the validity of your own reasoning and your understanding of things. And it's usually subtle. Usually it's one of those nefarious things. People are out to do you no good when they do it. Although there's, to me, an area where it sort of leaks over into everyday life. And I'll go into detail on what that means. Typically, when you hear someone's being gaslighted or someone's gaslighting, it's usually the kind of stuff that the person is doing it specifically to get their own way to another person. And they're trying to convince them that they are wrong or make them doubt themselves. When you get into the idea of this narcissistic or antisocial behaviors, where people are literally from the get-go trying to manipulate you to get their own needs met in a very firm, mean, and cruel way. Okay, notice how I push that a step further. They will usually do things like tell you once it's a whole setup, once you've been love bombed, which means that you've had everything thrown at you but the kitchen sink to make you feel good, everything to make you really like this person, to feel welcome, to really just think they are awesome, they're everything you want, and they're just the best person in the world. Then they start to change things. And as you start to see the chinks in their armor, their behaviors, you might question, and they might normally, if they've been giving you all this sweetness, then one day they're hollering at you and yelling at you. And originally you may go, I didn't do anything, or I was only 5 minutes late, and I did text you I was running late. And then here's where the gaslighting comes in. The person will tell you, no, you didn't call me, or when you called me, you didn't say anything about that, or you texted, but you didn't text it and let me know what you really meant. You weren't clear. In other words, they throw the blame for the misunderstanding firmly at you. They don't take any responsibility for any of it, and they're mad. And when they do those things, they appear to be so sure of what they're saying, you start to question, well, did I forget? Or did I not say? Or did he actually do that? Sometimes the gaslighting goes in another little bit of a twist and direction is, the person will make a joke about you and say something very mean, like, oh God, I can't believe you're wearing that outfit. That's just stupid. People see you wearing that, they're going to laugh at you. When you confront somebody for their wrongdoing or for their statements or for their behaviors, they will get up and make comments like, you just take things too serious. It was just a joke. They may say things like, nobody else has a problem with me. Why do you have a problem about this? I think it's just you. Those kinds of things will also chip away at you and make you start feeling that you didn't quite take things right, or maybe you didn't understand things, or you didn't do the right thing, and you allow that to happen. There's a lot of, they call it dark psychology or dark arts, where people figure out ways to say things so that they manipulate the conversation and get the blame away from them. Somebody may do something to you, scream and yell at you. And then when you confront them and say, hey, this was wrong, you were screaming and yelling at me, they'll twist the whole thing around and go, I don't think I was really yelling. You're getting rather sensitive. Are you taking your medication? Have you seen your psychiatrist or your therapist? Do other people around you point out that you're making mistakes like this? Or they'll even totally derail the whole thing with, I see how you were getting upset, but that doesn't take away from the fact that you and your girlfriend, y'all got some problems y'all need to work out, because this whole thing wouldn't have happened if y'all wouldn't have had that. So y'all might need to talk to somebody. And they shift the attention away from them and put the blame or the problem on other people. Now, when I say there's this gray area, if you look around, again, this gets into one that I know I did talk about, which was helping people by manipulating them. And manipulating is a word that so many people get upset about it. And I totally get why, because there is a lot of bad manipulation coming on. You have to think about, though, for a minute, and something as simple as telling your kids, hey, if y'all get your rooms all picked up, I'll reward you and we'll sit down together and play Monopoly. You just put a reward. You're trying to convince them to clean their rooms. Shy of just telling them clean your rooms and they do it. It's always going to be some kind of persuasion, either offering a reward or offering a consequence when they don't do it. People go, well, that's just parenting. And I'm like, kind of, sort of. Yes, it's also, though, a base form of manipulation. I've said before, there's lots of things that people do to manipulate other people. Sometimes people are nice in order to get some. Sometimes people are nice because they just feel it's the right thing to do. Like I said, there's all of these gray areas. And what happens is often people will go to the far end, and every time somebody says something, you're arguing with somebody and they're like, that's not what I said. Now the attack, latched onto this, has become such a fad to holler gaslighting, that the person on the other side immediately says, you're trying to gaslight me. It's like, no, I just disagree with you. Yeah, and you're gaslighting me, which comes out as, if you don't agree with me, which is gaslighting. Think about that for a minute. So it really comes down to a case of you being able to sit down calmly with yourself, think about what was said, and have a conversation with somebody about what did or didn't happen. Mistakes do happen. People do misinterpret things. Texting is the big one. When I see people text, I always warn them, you don't know what mood the other person's in. So where you might be laughing and kind and happy and be, like, hey, what time are you getting off today? Thinking that you're doing that so that you can make them something nice to eat for dinner, or that you can do something fun with them, or just looking forward to seeing them. If they're in a bad mood, they take that is, you are, oh, what time are you getting off today? Oh, you're mad at me. I'm working too much. You don't trust me. There's so many bad ways that can go off, and texting really leaves a lot of content out when you're having a conversation. I've always said texting is something like, hey, grab milk on the way home. Hey, leaving work now. Hey, got to stay late. Basics. But after that, people have now crutched it and used it for whole conversations. They don't even want to talk on the phone. If you call them, their answer machine is bloody well full, and they force you to get a hold of them by texting, and they only talk by text. And there could be reasons for that. I'm not taking it away. Some people just aren't talkers and don't want to be on the phone. But at the same time, don't be surprised when communication gets lost. Things don't happen the way you want them. So wrapping that back into the whole gaslighting now, there's a lot of overuse of the word because it's the cool new fad word to use. So on the one hand, be careful and make sure that when you accuse somebody of gaslighting, they really are doing that. On the other side, you are feeling you're being gaslit. You really feel like somebody's manipulating you. And things to watch out for in particular are, how does it make you feel about yourself? Are you losing contact with friends you used to have? Are you feeling isolated, or you notice that you've become isolated? Have you gotten to the point where you're afraid to speak up? Do you now start to doubt yourself in lots of other areas? These are all signs that you may be getting gaslit, or at least you're getting the effects of it. And again, I said there's this area. Some people do it intentionally to get their way, and some people don't even know what they're doing. They were raised to argue in that way. Lots of people were not raised to communicate. They were raised instead to either submit, do what they're told, or they learn how to win arguments by any means necessary. Intimidation, lying, twisting the truth, gaslighting. And they don't even think of it as gaslighting. They just think of it as a way to get what they want. I know there's a lot of mixed up, mismatched words in there. Like I said, it's very confusing. To me, the big thing is it's how it makes you feel. And when you try to explain how you feel, if the other person is trying to tell you you shouldn't feel a certain way, that area, you see it happening. It went from, I disagree with who should pay the bill, to, I disagree with how you feel about it. And you shouldn't feel that way. You should feel this way. You should think this way. And that's where it starts getting to be upsetting. And you realize that when that happens, you feel in you something is wrong. This is why I've encouraged you over and over again to do the meditation, checking in with the body to know what you're feeling and where you're feeling it, because those are your road signs to what's going on. When you're talking to somebody and you hear yourself arguing and disagreeing in your head, you have to ask, does that normally happen in my conversations with people? And if it doesn't, then maybe you need to think about that and see what's going on. Maybe in this case, you are being gaslit, or at the very least, the other person has intimidated you and taken away a little piece of your self-confidence. It's common for people to do things that are manipulative. A lot of times you have to ask yourself why and what's going on, what's happening, and what is the real purpose. Y'all have a great day, and I will talk to you later.